All right, today I want to talk a little bit about the process of meiosis. Why we need meiosis? It creates variation, and more variation in the offspring. It's necessary to have a process like meiosis to have the number of chromosomes before we put our genetic information into our sex cells, right? When we have the chromosomes in our sex cells are called gametes, and at fertilization, the male is going to provide half of the sex cells and the female is going to provide half of the sex cells. So half of the chromosomes from each parent comes together, and our offspring is going to have genes from mom and genes from dad and ways that they look like their mother and ways that they look like their father. And this increases the variation present in the offspring. The second reason that we need meiosis is that it scrambles the specific forms of each gene that each sex cell receives. And that makes for a lot of genetic diversity, right? One of the ways that we accomplish genetic diversity is through independent assortment and crossing over. And you'll understand what those two pieces are at the end of this screencast. Right? Genetic diversity is really important for the evolution of populations and species. And we'll see that when we talk about evolution next quarter. So meiosis is really the process of taking one parent cell with a set of chromosomes, copying those chromosomes, and dividing them up so that we end up with 4 cells, and each one of those cells has half of the original number of chromosomes rather than the full number of chromosomes. Is it important for you to copy down the diagram? No. Is it important for you to understand that we're going to start with 1 cell, we're going to end up with 4 cells? Yes. Is it important that you understand that the first cell had twice the number of chromosomes as the ones at the end? Yes. All right. So independent assortment is the process where the chromosomes separate independently of each other, right? And really, when you want to do the math and you want to pull the math in, that's going to produce 2 to the n kind of gametes, and n is the number of chromosomes. So in people, we have 23 chromosomes, and 2 to the power of 23rd is 6 million. That's right. You are 1 in 6 million. Right? And that's a lot of diversity just by this mechanism. So here's an example that we're going to show you, and it's going to have just 2 chromosomes in it. And then we can imagine how much that would be if it were bigger. So the first possibility is that your chromosomes line up, they separate, and you get all blue from mom, all blue from mom, all red from mom, all red from mom. Or you could mix them, and then we're going to get some blue, some red, and some red, some blue. And then in our combinations at the end, we're going to end up with a variety of gametes. Another way meiosis makes lots of different sex cells is through the process of crossing over, right? And that's where when the chromosomes line up, they actually become fragile and they break and they change pieces. And so you get a variety. You don't really have just an all red chromosome. You're going to have a red with some blue or a blue with some red. And that is going to increase the number of different types of gametes we could get. So really the important points you need to remember is that meiosis is a source of variation. It halves the number of chromosomes, and then it keeps that number stable over generations. That we increase the diversity of our offspring through the processes of independent assortment and crossing over.